Kristen.
And I'm Bethany.
And this is Looking for the Middle,
the Christian girl's guide to modern dating.
We're here to help you date with confidence while honoring the Lord and to show you that your identity and contentment are in Christ. We're going to give you the tools that you need to date successfully and be set up well for success in a godly marriage.
If you've ever felt like you didn't really belong with any of the extremes in dating today, well, you're not alone. Neither did we. And that's why we're here looking for the middle.
Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Looking for the Middle. We are so happy that you're here. We are going to have quite the conversation today about how to talk to single people. Because if you are single, this is a great thing for you to use to start conversations or even just to send to people who need to know how to talk to single people. And if you're listening and you're not single, this is just a good reminder for everybody on things to do and not to do when you're talking to single people. So going to be a fun one.
Yes.
This is a little reminiscent of this one. I feel like is a little more on the more helpful, not as snarky side of when we did the 8 things single people never want to hear and how to respond to them.
Yes.
Which
we can put in the newsletter. I'm trying to beat you to it now.
But yeah, it's going to be a good one. But before we start, obviously, y'all know the drill. We have our newsletter that comes out tomorrow. That if you are not signed up for, now would be a great time to do that because we are getting closer and closer to doing our Hallmark movie of the week where we start recommending all our favorite Hallmark Christmas movies, and we also give you other books, videos, podcast episodes, anything we mention, even not dating related, that's fun. In the episode, we'll get linked in the newsletter, so it's a good time over there. If you have not subscribed to that already, you can do that by going to our website, lookingforthemiddle.com. There's a newsletter tab there, or you can go to our Instagram bio at LFTM_podcast, and there is a button in our bio to sign up there. Also, if you're not signed up on Instagram, now would be a great time to do that because Me Monday is back in full force, and I have just been thoroughly enjoying all that Bethany is posting, and what's funny is I'll like respond to them, but then I get the notifications on my phone like Kristen Camp responded to your story, but I've gotten quite the giggle fest the past few weeks. So it's a fun time. We're going to be doing, we're brainstorming for our next giveaway, and you need to be following us on Instagram to be eligible for that and all the good things. So be sure and go follow us over there. And then we have been talking about this the last couple of weeks, but we are going to bring back the 12 days of Couchcast leading up to Christmas this year. Y'all loved that last year where the 12 days leading up to Christmas Day, we posted a Couchcast episode every single day where we answered your questions. So if you have a question you would like us to answer, we are in the process of recording those, but we can always take more ideas. So there is a Couchcast submissions button in our Instagram bio. You can go send us your questions. It's totally anonymous. If you want credit for it, you can DM us on Instagram. But the form in our Instagram bio is where we check them, where we go specifically to get those ideas. So if you have a question you want us to answer, go and send us that. But that's enough of that. Bethany has a question of the day. It took her a while to get her answer, and so I'm a little nervous she's going to have to cut out like 5 minutes of me just silently thinking when she's editing.
I don't know. Knowing you, I think you're going to be okay with this, and you'll see why once I ask the question, why I struggled. Okay. So, what line from a song has had the biggest impact on you?
Oh, my gosh. It's got to be a Taylor Swift song.
I was going to say, I feel like your problem is going to be narrowing it down.
I started to say,
I have a couple. I have a couple that just pop and I hate questions like this because it's like had the biggest impact on you, and I'm like, well, I think of like the first thing that pops into my head. Now if I sat here for 3 hours, I might come up with something. I was like, oh well, yeah, actually that one did have a bigger, but these are two that immediately I thought of.
Yes. Hold on. Okay, you go first, and I'm Googling things.
Okay, so I have two. One is spiritual and one is not.
Oh man, now I'm like, what?
No, you don't have to. These are just both of these popped into my head. So one is from the song called Undone by Sovereign Grace.
Okay.
And there's a line in that song, which we can post the songs in the newsletter.
Yes. Oh,
yes. So, well, I'll read the bit leading up to it too. So it says, our hands had crafted idols, our lips had spoken lies, every wayward thought we had against us testified. But then the line that like really just like, ugh, knocks you back a bit. It says, but you were rich in mercy to provide what you demand. Like, think about that. Like, God provided what he demanded of us because we couldn't.
Yes.
Like, that just sticks with you.
That's
like,
a good one.
That really has, had an impact on me. And then the other one is a Kelsey Ballerini song.
Oh, of course.
I think it's from like this is from her first album. I think from First Time is the song.
Such a good song.
And this was like years ago, getting over someone. And just this line where it says, even when you don't have me, you can still be the one to hurt me. It must feel good to know that I'm still holding on to letting go. That I was like, oh,
that's brilliant.
Whew, I need to, like, it helped me with the, I'm not still going to hold on to letting go. Like, I'm going to move on.
Yeah.
So, that was one from way back.
Oh, man. Oh, gosh. That's
I think this came out in 2015, I think?
Yeah. It was her first.
Around about then.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh.
She's
it was
so
new
good.
I just love her. I feel like Kelsey Ballerini puts my brain to song. Like,
yes.
Every song, I'm like, oh, yeah. That's me. I think that.
If Taylor Swift had stayed in the country, that's like how she's very much on that with her lyrics and everything. Like, it's so good. There is nothing better than listening to a song and thinking, wow, that is everything I've been trying to put words to, and you just did it and made it rhyme and sound pretty. So that's why you are so talented and famous and rich, and I'm sitting here crying on my sofa listening to you eating ice cream. Oh gosh, I don't know what, like, I have my spiritual one that y'all getting me to pick a Taylor Swift lyric is like getting me to pick a favorite child. Like, it's just not happening.
Okay, then just pick a recent, like,
that's
recently
true.
This is stuck with me kind of thing or something. It doesn't have to be like all time, forever and ever.
I know.
Okay,
well, let me do the spiritual one first. So my one of my favorite songs is called Seasons by Hillsong. Noelle, that I talked about in our last episode, actually sent me this song when I went through a breakup a couple years ago, and she was like, thinking of you, listen to this song. And it was so good. But in the bridge, they say, what do they say? Okay, here it is. It says, it says, I'm going to read most of the bridge, but it says, you're the God of seasons and I'm just in the winter. If all I know of harvest is that it's worth my patience, then if you're not done working, God, I'm not done waiting. And I loved that. And I'm like, that last line, like, if you're not done working, I'm not, like, you're still going, so I'm still going to wait. Like, you haven't stopped.
Yeah.
And every time I hear that line, I get chills. Like, I've listened to that song countless times at this point, but it's just so good.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
It's a good one. Highly recommend. Again, we'll put it in the newsletter. Okay, hold on. I'm looking for the... Okay, I'm going to read two sections of this song. So this is Taylor Swift, Mr. Perfectly Fine. This was one of the songs.
Did you start recording back?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I didn't hear it click.
Yes, this was one of the songs that was supposed to be on Fearless, which was her second album that she released. Now that she's re-releasing everything, she's releasing songs that didn't make the cut the first time.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's super cool. So it's called Mr. Perfectly Fine, and oh my goodness, this song is so good. So one section, she says, where'd it go? Okay, yes. She goes, I hear he's got an arm around a brand new girl. I've been picking up my heart. He's been picking up her. And I never got past what you put me through, but it's wonderful to see that it never fazed you. And I was like, oh my gosh. First of all, if I had this when it actually came out, that would have been so helpful. But then she goes on later and she says, it's really such a shame because I was Miss Here to Stay, and now I'm Miss Gonna Be All Right Someday. And someday maybe you'll miss me, but by then you'll be Mr. Too Late. And I'm like, dang, girl, yes. Like, that was just... So I heard this whenever she released this earlier this year. And I'm like, wow. One, she's brilliant. Two, what a fun turn of events. But I just was like, man, this is so, like... The girls that didn't grow up in the Taylor Swift phase where they didn't have this, I feel so bad for them. I'm like, y'all really needed to experience what it was like to get a whole album out, listen to it all the way through, like read the lyrics, write them in your journal when you were feeling like crappy. It was, oh man, she's so good. I could go on forever. I could do an entire episode on breaking down Taylor Swift lyrics and how
that's funny.
The different seasons of your dating life they could apply to. If y'all want to hear that, listen. Bethany's going to kill me. She's like, you're going to be doing that on your own?
I was going to say, I'll be like, oh yeah, okay.
Oh my gosh. No.
I grew up, like, I was just a little I was just a little older. Like, I mean, plenty of people my age love Taylor Swift. I'm just saying, like, I didn't have it. It wasn't as much of a in the moment thing for me. I don't
because she's right between us in age. Like, she's 3 years older than me. So don't make me sound weird because I know that. It's fine.
I was just about to. I was ready to hit the mute button when you gave out our social security number. I was ready, but you didn't, so it's fine.
I'm not creepy, I promise.
That's what the creepers say.
Oh my goodness. All right. Wow. If you wanted to hear more about being creepy, listen to last week's episode on dating in the social media age. Oh gosh, no. Okay, wow. What an editing nightmare Bethany just had to get all of the unusable stuff out of that. But
I really thought Kristen was gonna be like, oh, this song. I got it.
It's just,
she had to think for a while.
I did have to think for a while, but man, y'all well, and as a writer, like, this is gonna sound so cheesy, but like a lot of, I would say, Bethany's going to roll her eyes so far back into her head when I say this. Taylor Swift is a big writing inspiration for me just because of her...
my eyes.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, she can't be a singing inspiration.
No, I can't sing. No. But just her ability to put words to things and her creativity and all of that, like, she's one of my top writing inspirations. So, I love nerding out on all of her lyrics. So here we are. Okay, so now that we've had quite that conversation, I'm reeling myself in. Let's jump into today's episode, how to talk to single people. Now, this was your idea?
Yes.
Was it my idea?
No, it was my idea. You told me a story and I said, ooh, we should do an episode.
Yes.
So it's collaboration. Yes. That's how we do things around here.
Yeah, I will tell that story later in this episode, actually, but I called Bethany and was like, I am so glad that, one, we've done this podcast, but two, that we've learned as much as we have since we've been doing it, because literally I just witnessed a conversation that made me cringe in 14 different ways. Yes. And I just want to be like, we have a podcast I think would be great for you to listen to.
Oh my word.
Oh yes.
I'm talking about we have a podcast.
I love it when Bethany says, oh my word, and like grabs hold of the table like something big's about to happen.
I think of another story. Two funny stories. Y'all, we're never going to get done with this episode.
No, it's fine.
So Mel and Trey are here with TJ. Well, it's been a few weeks now. Anyway, so TJ is 16 months old now, so he's running around talking, all this stuff.
Oh my goodness.
His like most commonly used word is uh-oh. If you pause the TV, he's like, uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Oh, that's so cute.
If he drops something, if he falls down, if something doesn't work, like that's his word.
That's adorable.
Well, it was our second to last day he was here. He was like running in the kitchen and something happened and he just out of the blue goes, oh my, which Melanie like turned around. She was like, he has never said that before. Like, where did that come from? Like later that night we were like, he had gone to bed. We were all sitting around talking and something happened and I was like, oh my. And Mel like whipped her head and she's like, I know where he got it.
Yeah, so you say that all the time.
I don't think about it, but well, and in thinking about it, like when something would happen, like I wouldn't say uh-oh, like my oh my, like that's
that was your phrase,
exclamation. And so
that's he's learning from Aunt B real quick,
which he can say Aunt B now, and it's so cute. He would like run into them, he'd be like Aunt B. It's so cute,
so sweet.
Anyway,
he's never gonna be able to say my name because it's so clunky. Like literally he would see me last time I was there, Melanie was trying to get him to say the K sound, so she would just go like and he would go, everybody else gonna be my name. He's gonna be like, hey, what's up? We sound like static. Yeah. Breaker.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I taught him to say oh my, and Lindsay taught him to say baseball.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. But why did you actually grab the table?
So yes, you were talking about, I have a dating podcast. You should listen to it. I had someone not too long ago introduce me to a guy. I walk up and she's like, she has a dating podcast. You should listen to it.
Oh, God.
First thing out of their mouth, and I'm going, well, this is awkward now.
extremely awkward.
Like, don't let that fool you. I know nothing.
Gosh, yeah. You're like, and also, like, if you want to date me, maybe don't listen to that first.
Right.
Like,
Well, and I'm always like, I don't know what I need to ask. Like, what impression does that give someone?
Yeah.
Because I feel like it says, oh, hey, I date tons of people and I'm just da 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 da.
Yeah. Or you know everything and I'm intimidated.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yep.
On
Nope.
either front,
False
I don't date a
assumption.
lot of people. I don't know everything. And so I'm like, let's. I don't lead with that normally.
No.
Like, let's ease into that. I try to make it like, oh, by the way.
Yeah. I wait on that as long as I can
do
without
too.
looking like I'm trying to hide it.
Yes.
But also like I'm not trying to flaunt it.
Yes. Well, especially like online, I don't want it to be like, I'm sure I've worked it up in my head. I don't want someone to think that like, oh, I'm just doing research or I'm just like whatever. Or, oh, I have this podcast and
It's
you're my
true.
guinea pig. So it's finding that balance of when to tell people. It's a very awkward thing we did not consider when we
No.
started this.
Not at all.
But yeah, don't lead with that.
No.
It's just not a
No.
good- Yeah. I was
No.
like, oh.
Oh my.
I'm sure I felt more awkward than anyone, but I was just like,
Still.
I don't know what to say now because it's not for guys.
I'm just gonna talk through my teeth and try to calm my inner, turmoil.
Oh man, so yeah, fun times.
Yeah, fun times. Gosh. All right. So we figured y'all know we like lists. We did pros and cons last week. We're going to do do's and don'ts this week.
So same thing.
Kind of same thing of talking to single people. There are things that are helpful and then there are things that are not. And one of the things though, what we kept in mind as we're making this list, something we're really passionate because we realize most of the people listening to this are single. And so you may be thinking, why are y'all talking to us about how to talk to single people? Because we are single people. But one of the added motivations, I guess it's not our top motivation, but a motivation we have with making this podcast is to give you tools and ideas that you need to have conversations with people who aren't single about what it's like to be single and to date right now, because unless they've been married rather recently, they don't understand all the ins and outs of it because it was so different when they were dating and when they got married. And kind of like, you didn't even plan this, but kind of like Taylor Swift and Kelsey Ballerini put words to what we've been thinking. We want to help y'all put words around maybe conversations you've been wanting to have or things you've been wanting to bring up with people that maybe have said the things you're not supposed to say to single people to you that have been frustrating, or you're trying to navigate those relationships or conversations. We want to help you through that.
Yes.
So that's kind of the motivation as you're listening to this.
It is. And I do want to say one thing right from the beginning, especially, well, I guess I could say it before we get to the don't section, like don't talk about these things or don't say these things. But as single people, and especially as single Christians, when people say things, it's like, ugh, that was not helpful, or that you don't know how that actually comes across or whatever. Remember, most of the time, there is no malicious intent at all.
No.
Doesn't mean people can't like think about what they say more, but I think being on the receiving end of that, like, there's so much room for us to be gracious and to be understanding and to assume the best of people and let things roll off our back. So this is not something that's meant to be, and I think you guys know this, but we can always use this reminder, all of us, that this is not something that's meant to be a list that you're going to like hold people up to, and if they fall short, well, then you're going to let them have it.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, this is just meant to be a helpful tool to kind of get people's minds, get those wheels turning, thinking about what you say, which we can all use in a whole vast, array of ways in situations, not just when it comes to singleness, but this does not remove the need for grace and understanding and being loving and kind and patient.
Absolutely.
And we all know that.
Yeah, but it's a good reminder.
But it's a good reminder, even for us, because I will say, having done this podcast and we talk about so many things and we think about the nitty gritty of so many things, there's a whole lot more going on in my brain because we've thought about so many things in detail that when people say stuff, I kind of can lack that grace somewhat that I didn't before, because I hadn't really thought about some of this stuff that I have now. Like, I didn't know to be frustrated when they said it before, but now I do. And I'm like, so it really is a reminder to myself of, be gracious.
Yeah.
Be understanding. Be kind. Be loving in your response to those people. Even if it's like, if you have an opportunity to send them this episode, or you have an opportunity to kind of have a conversation about what's more helpful, keeping your mind right and keeping your motivations right is just as important as what they're saying. And that's the only part you can control.
Yeah.
So just remember all of that from the start.
Yeah. That's a good reminder to kick things off with.
Yes.
Okay. So our first do,
yes.
Bethany, what is it?
We have the first one here is ask questions. So when you're talking to someone who's single, ask questions about, mainly because like we're going to talk about things that maybe are frustrating to us, or we've talked to other people and it's frustrating, or it's hard, or these things are helpful and these things are encouraging, but this is not going to be the same for everyone. And I think that's one thing to remember as you're talking to your single friends or you're interacting with them, even if you're single too. Remember that they aren't all going to be the same as you. Mm-hmm. They don't think the same as you. And there's going to be things that would be frustrating for you that aren't for them, or vice versa. Things that I don't think twice about might be really frustrating for Kristen. There is actually one down here that she's going to mention that doesn't really bother me. I get it, but it doesn't bother me as much as it does her. I'll tell you when we get to it. I'm not going to tell you right now.
Well, I'm very curious now what it is.
But that doesn't mean like it is something that's really frustrating for her, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So ask questions of your single friends in the not in the vein of, oh, are you seeing someone? But in the vein of, what can I do to be helpful? What is encouraging for you in the season? What is helpful? What is not? How can I be praying for you? How can I encourage you? Is there a place where you need accountability? Like, talk about those things, ask those questions, and get to know the specific person that you're talking about, and not just think of all the single people, all the single ladies, all in one, like, clump.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And, like, really think through, then, the questions that you ask. Like, start broad, and you can get more narrow as you get to know that person. And I think how well you know them to start with is going to dictate the starting point of those questions. You're gonna already have some information. You're already gonna know them if you know that person well. So just think through those things from the get-go and start from a place of, I want to get more information. Help me understand, especially if you're someone who is a generation or two removed, because it is we can say it till we're blue in the face. You just got to trust us unless you want to get out there and try dating again. It is a whole different not a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different sport.
Yeah.
Like, we're not even
That's true. That's a great way to put it.
It just is. And it's funny, I was actually talking with Krista the other night. And because we've kind of joked about this before, I said, you know what I would love to do? I would love to figure out an ethical and moral way of doing this, but I don't think there is.
Yeah.
Take older people who, the problem is most of them are married.
Right.
Like the people, like your parents, your grandparents,
yeah,
Aunt Susie, whoever, they're all married. But I would love to figure out some way to take a couple of those people and say, hey, okay, download this app. And now you go through this. There's no way.
There's no way to do it, but to make them walk in our shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they understand.
No.
Like, it's like, oh, just get online. There's people everywhere. 62% of them are men, we learned last week.
Right.
And you'll just meet someone and it's like, oh, bless your little heart.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I've talked on here before about when I showed my mom a dating app one time. Actually sat there and scrolled through it with her. She was like, oh. Like, yeah, your mentality of this is just Prince Charming,
Carousel.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Next
universe over here. It's like, no, that's not how this works.
That's probably the closest we can get to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
like, let me show you what we're working with here.
Yeah. And that may be in the vein of asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
Ask them what's difficult, what's challenging, what's frustrating. And give someone the space to show you, because
exactly
it is, you hear all the horror stories or the jokes. They all came from you laugh to keep from crying.
Yeah.
Let's just put it
seriously, it's true. Well, and I would even, so when we were outlining this, my brain on asking questions went in a different direction, but I think I'm glad we're talking about both of them. So my thinking was, when you're just in conversation with a single person, think about the questions you're asking in just general conversation, and maybe how you could word them differently to not make them feel so like, we're going to talk about what questions not to ask at the end of this episode. But we get the question, so are you seeing anybody? Like, trust us. If we are, you'll know. Okay. And so think about how do I give them the space to talk about whatever they want to talk about with me?
Yeah.
So even just saying like, hey, what's new with you? If it's a relationship, they can tell you, oh, I just started seeing this guy. If they just started a new job, if they just, got on this intramural sports team, I don't know, whatever you're doing. But rephrasing your questions, I think, goes a long way, because it doesn't make us feel like a failure if we have the quote unquote right answer, because there is no right answer to what's new. I mean, there is, but you're not looking for a specific one. And I've thought through that a lot with my little sister. Danielle decided pretty early on in high school she was not going to go to college. She's like, I want to be a wife and a mom. So I'm going to nanny. I'm going to coach volleyball, and I'm not going to school. Well, she was the only one in her graduating class. Granted, she went to a small Christian school. The only one who wasn't going to college. And so everybody, her senior year was, hey, where are you going to school? Where are you going to college? Where are you going to college? And she was like, oh, I'm not going. Yeah. And it was so hard to watch her have to navigate those conversations. And I had been very guilty of every senior. I thought, oh, where are you going to school? And so now my question is, so what are you doing after graduation? Yeah. And it's a different question. And if they're still going to school, they can tell you, oh, I'm going so-and-so. Or if they're not, oh, I'm going to go do this. Oh, I'm going to do a gap year. Oh, I'm going to work here. And there's not this pressure for them to have a specific answer. Yeah. And so I think if we can think through, you can still look for the same information, but if they don't have the information you may be looking for, it's going to free them up a little bit.
Spot. Well, I think this is a good place too to kind of point out kind of what I was saying before about, that's a very understandable question to ask. Like the original. Yeah. Where are you going to college? Like, it's not like someone was like, oh my word, I cannot believe you said that. Yeah. Like, I'm sure Danielle did, like, show grace, show understanding. I know she did, but just thinking of like, I get why people ask that question. I get why people say, oh, have you not met anyone? Oh, are you still single? Oh, whatever. Like, yeah, I get the question. I just think it could be, like you said, just phrase it a different way. Put someone on the spot a little bit less.
Yes.
But yeah, balance both sides there.
Exactly.
I think another place too where the questions, just asking questions and phrasing them well comes into play is maybe how you approach trying to set someone up. I think people just assume everyone, if you're single, you must want to be set up and date someone, which to an extent, probably everyone does, but it depends on who you are to them, I think, a lot of times. So instead of flying in with the, oh my word, I have this guy, you have to go out with him, y'all would be perfect. Or, oh my word, I know this guy, he's single, you're single, you must be meant to be. Which is,
if only that was that easy. My
very limited experience with being set up. I have not been set up all that much, probably by choice. Is that it's like, well, you're a Christian and he's a Christian. You're single. He's single.
Boom.
Yeah. And I am more of the type I'm like, sure, I'll go out with him. It's a date. It's a first date. What do you got to lose? Like, I don't really mind personally, but haven't had him work out super, super well for me personally. But instead of coming in with this like, oh my word, I'm putting the pressure on you to feel like you have to go out with this person, ask the question of like, hey, what's your stance on being set up? How do you feel about being set up? And I will say the person who recently actually set me up with someone took that approach, and I really appreciated that, of like, don't know if you're open to this, don't know if this is something you're interested in, and it's totally fine if you're not. However, I thought of you and possibly this person. Yeah. That's you don't want to make the person feel like they're obligated to go out with this person right off the bat. And I will say too, and one thing this person who set me up recently did really well too is they like made that initial connection and then got out of it. I think that's huge when it comes to setting someone up.
Don't stay in the middle.
Don't make them feel like you're the third wheel on this potential setup.
Gosh, no. I think so much of what we're going to talk about in this episode boils down to not making assumptions. Yeah. If you're making assumptions, you're probably going to go about this in a not so great way. So just keep that in mind.
Even if you have the best of intentions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The second thing you should do when you're talking to a single person is show as much interest in the other areas of their life as you would if they were telling you about a relationship. For whatever reason, people get so much more excited to talk about if you're dating somebody than if you started a new job or you got promoted or you moved to a new apartment or you, I don't know, fill in the blank, you got a new car. Like,
yeah,
there are new things or big things happening. And for whatever reason, it's like there's a ranking system.
Yeah.
And if you get in a relationship, it's like, oh, all of a sudden everybody wants to talk to you and ask you about it and text you all the time and, you know, comment and like all your pictures. And it's like, this is a big deal, but there have been a lot of other big things that have happened for me and you never got this excited before.
Yeah.
So just because there's, you know, they may not be in a relationship right now doesn't mean they're not worth cheering for, encouraging, being excited for. And it means a lot when we are affirmed in those things, because don't worry, in the back of our head we're thinking like, oh, this is great, I still want this.
Right.
But when you're saying like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, like look at you getting to do this, and that's so cool that you're, you know, you got that, or you moved here, or you're doing this. And
don't tie it to, oh, because you're single.
Like, yes, no.
Just I know you're trying, like people are trying to point out, hey, look, here's a good, like this is really cool that you're able to do this, and you know you're single so you can, and like it's like trying to tie it to a good thing, but
no, just leave that out.
Leave it as it is. And I will say this is kind of one that's a little bit of a soapbox for me. Mm-hmm. And so
we love soapboxes around here.
Probably going to sound a little snarkier. I don't mean it the way I'm sure it's going to sound, but yeah, if you don't talk to me any other time except for after I've been on a couple dates with someone, don't come talk to me after those couple of dates. Just see how it went. Like that. That's
a great point.
Like because I'm being really blunt here. Refer back to me saying be gracious, and I'm learning it myself. But if that's the only time you come talk to me, that comes, I mean, it literally reduces me down to my marital status. And oh, hey, she might be dating someone, so now she's worthy of my attention, is how that feels.
Yeah.
I know people don't mean it that way, but that is 100% how that comes across. And if you don't want to talk, I mean, that's how it seems. You don't really want to talk to me. You don't really have anything to do with me 90% of the time. But then as soon as I'm possibly dating someone or going out with a new guy, or there's whatever, or even just the potential of it, hey, I saw you talking to so-and-so, now you're going to come talk to me about like, don't.
It makes your worthiness feel like it's tied to whether you're with someone or not.
It does. And I know people want to like celebrate, oh, this thing you've wanted, and oh, hey, look, great, this is exciting, but that's not all there is to life. Exactly. And that's how it feels.
Exactly.
And we already struggle with that enough. Like, I already feel like that enough. I don't need someone coming along and basically saying, yeah, you're right about that. This is all that matters.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's how it seems.
Exactly.
And then kind of tandem to that, even if you are talking to someone outside of when they're dating someone, don't ask about their marital status constantly. Oh, are you seeing anyone? Is there anything new? Are you talking to anyone? Is there any guy? Have you been on an app? Like, people, when people ask those questions constantly, it just gets really tiring trying to figure out how to say, nope, still not dating anyone, like a million different ways.
Yeah.
Trust me, I will tell you when I'm dating someone, when I want you to know.
Yeah.
Like, if we're really good friends, Kristen knows anytime I'm talking to someone, basically. You know, like, Lindsay knows, oh, hey, there's this guy, and I'm really hoping he messages me back. Like, they know those sorts of things. Other people know, oh, I have a first date. You know, that's maybe a level removed. Other people know, oh, yes, I am dating this person. There's going to be people who are like, oh, wow, look, she's engaged.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So, you don't have to ask.
Mm-hmm.
You'll know when.
Yeah. We'll tell you when we want to tell you.
To that place. And so, especially if you're like a really close friend and they tell you when they're talking to someone or, you know, whatever, you don't have to ask. Or if you do, don't do it all the time.
Yeah. Just spread it out.
Yeah.
Spread it out. And one other thing, and this might sound obvious, but this is coming from personal experience that really kind of bugged me.
This is the one that doesn't.
Yes.
This is the one that doesn't bother me as much.
This bothers me. This bothered me so much. If you're meeting somebody for the first time, don't ask them if they're married right off the bat. Number one, if we're talking about women here, look at their left hand.
Yes.
They're going to have a ring on. Okay. And if not, then if they are married and for whatever reason they're not wearing their ring, they're going to talk about their husband pretty quickly at some point in conversation. But when I started working for my church 6 years ago. Holy crap. I feel very old right now. You would not believe in my first week when I'm meeting all these people, how many times, so are you married? I'm like, I wanted to hold up my hand. Like, does it look like I'm married? Yeah. And it was so, and I'm like, it's so crappy. I'm like, no. And you just told me about your husband and 4 kids. Like, that's great for you. So happy for you. But now I feel weird.
Yeah.
So just like use your observing skills.
Yeah.
And, you know, because no one, that,
yeah.
Again, maybe that doesn't bother you. It bugged me.
Well, and it doesn't bother me in an isolated, oh, you meet someone, oh, tell me about you. Are you married? Da, da, da. Like,
yeah.
Don't mind that. But if you're in a situation where this person has started a new job and they've met 50 new people in a row, realize everyone's probably asked them that, so maybe don't.
Yeah.
Like, I can see how in that situation where it's like, oh my word, everyone is asking. I've talked to tons of new people in a short amount of time, and every single one of them has asked me this one question.
Yes.
Oh, that would get really old really fast.
And I think that was the kicker. It was just constant, like on
does
repeat.
Everybody think this?
Yes. Like, I'm going to walk around, like, holding my left hand up and then shaking with my right. Hi, nice to meet you. Can you see that this finger is empty? Passive-aggressive Christian's coming out. Y'all get ready.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. All right, moving right along here. Number 3 on the do list.
Yes. And this is kind of an actual do this.
Yes.
Not even just talking.
Yes. Still invite your single friends to hang out with you, even if they are the third wheel, because...
Or the 5th, or the 7th, or the 9th.
Yes. There are some couples that are still fun to hang out with when
absolutely.
It's just the 3 of y'all or the 5 of y'all or whatever. And so don't assume, because they don't have a date, they don't want to hang out with us. Like, that was something that... I never really, third wheeled with them, but there was... this girl who was in my small group for a while, and we were also neighbors, so we lived in the same apartment complex. Her and her husband, I told them this more than once. I was like, y'all are so great at not making your single friends feel single when y'all are both around.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that means a lot, where I'm like, I don't feel uncomfortable, I don't feel weird, I don't feel out of place. Like, y'all are just so good at, we're all just friends hanging out.
Yeah.
And so don't think, because so-and-so doesn't have a significant other, that, hey, we're all going to dinner, or, hey, we're all going to this movie, that you can't invite them. If they can always say no if they don't want to, but at least give them, the option to come and hang out with y'all, because you're still friends. So don't skip out on that opportunity.
Agreed. Okay, so next was do on the list.
Yes.
Next thing to do is, when you're talking to single people, when you're having conversations with them, have some sympathy. Not pity. Maybe not empathy. That's not right. Sympathy is right.
Yeah.
It is a weird dating world out there. And that's the only way I know to put it.
Yep.
And as well-intentioned as it is, and well-meaning and appreciated in the right context, if you jump straight to fix-it mode, it isn't always helpful. Like, if I'm like, oh my word, another one bites the dust and it's so frustrating, da 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 da. Well, if you immediately go to, if you'll just do this, or if you'll just do that, it's helpful. And I'm a fixer, so I get it. But at the same time, I just need someone to say, that is really frustrating. I hate that for you sometimes.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times too, whatever you're trying to fix or whatever you say, they've thought of it. They've thought, this would change, or this would be better, or I should do this differently, or someone else has told them. So I think sympathizing with your single friends out there, especially if they are of a certain age, shall we say? I mean, I'm mid-30s, and trust me, I'm not single because I haven't tried. It's just, oh man, there's no way to describe it to someone who isn't in it.
Yeah.
And it's a weird world. Apps and the things people say and
it's a lot.
It is a lot. And so just having a little sympathy for your single friends goes a really long way. That's all they need sometimes. Just someone to say, oh man, that is really frustrating. I hate that for you, and leave it at that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it goes so far.
Yeah.
And I've told the story once. I'll tell y'all again, because this will forever stick out in my mind. But the last breakup I went through, the day after I came over to Bethany and Lindsay's apartment, And all they did was let me vent and cry, and they gave me ice cream, and Lindsay played with my hair.
Yeah.
They weren't like, oh, well, maybe you could do this. Oh, you should do that. You'll be fine. He's the worst. None of that. It was just they listened to me, they fed me ice cream, and they played with my hair while we watched Friends. And that was exactly
for a really
what
long time. Like,
yeah,
it was
for
a
hours.
Long time, yeah.
But that was exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
Because I knew the time would come where, okay, now we are going to, let's pick up the pieces and move along. But that wasn't the time for it. And there are times when we're, as single people, that we don't want to be told how to fix it or to deal with it or to whatever. We just want to be like, we want to be seen and understood as much as you can.
Yeah.
And because, like Bethany said, we've thought about most everything that you've told us to try. Like, we're a very introspective bunch. We single people.
We have to be.
Yes.
I mean,
we don't
have much choice.
But yeah, we think about these things. We're not just like, oh, you told me I need to put myself out there more. Oh. We'll also, in the newsletter, if you need a good laugh, laugh, cry, all the emotions, the whole, like, if you would just blank,
yes,
you'd be married by now episode, the question episode from last season. That's a good one to listen to.
Yes.
We'll link that in the newsletter. Okay, so let's move on to the don'ts. Always ending on a negative note lately. We're like starting with the positive, ending with the negative.
Oh, man. Okay, yes.
These are cautions, warnings.
Yeah.
I'm not wagging my finger at you, but if you keep doing these things, I will. That's the attitude.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about what not to do when you're talking to single people.
So the first thing, and going back to you talking about making assumptions, don't assume that they're unhappy being single. Just because someone is single, even if they want to get married in general, does not mean that they are just, trudging through life with no purpose. And that's all. As single people, especially fully grown adults who are well into life on their own, there's a lot more going on in life than just the fact that I'm single. And so I'm happier with my life now being single than I probably ever have been, but I'm also very aware of the fact that I want to get married.
Yeah.
At the same time. And so just don't assume that I'm unhappy or to be pitied because I'm single. So don't let your communication with single people reflect that, I guess.
Yeah. You can want to be married, be single, and be happy all at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. And
not want to be married and want to be single. You mean you're a single person?
Yes, you can be single who wants to be married, but also still be happy at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I think sometimes that may be hard for some people to understand, but it is a real thing. And I mean, I think you can go back into scripture. You can have unmet desires and still be content. Mm-hmm. And the same thing goes here. I can have the unmet desire that I want to be married and I'm not married yet, but I can be content with where I am right now.
Yep.
It's not that, oh, God hasn't given me this thing. Like, contentment is a choice. And you can still have things you want, but you can choose to be content because you do have everything you need for life and godliness through Jesus Christ.
Absolutely.
That is straight out of scripture. Mm-hmm. So, again, you can be all three. You can be single, want to be married, and be happy. And I think something else to consider is, again, with the assumptions, don't assume someone's looking to date right now just because they're single.
Yes.
There are two different ways you could look at this. Mm-hmm. You could either look at it from a standpoint of, hey, maybe they just got out of a relationship not too long ago and they're not really wanting to date right now. Yeah. So don't assume like, oh, just because you're not with anybody means that let's go and find you someone.
Yeah.
Or we've had several people either that we've talked to in person or who have reached out to us through our Couchcast form, our DMs, emails, whatever, that say, hey, like, I'm not sure if I ever want to get married. So how do I communicate that to people who are trying to set me up, who are asking if I'm seeing anybody? Like, don't make an assumption that just because someone is single means that they're, wanting you to go find them their spouse. Okay. And so I think, again, that's where you ask those questions. You get to know this person. So what, like, are you, where are you at right now? And what, tell me about your life and what are,
And can I just make one addition to that? When you're asking those other questions, ask them Genuinely.
Yeah. Not
I
fishing.
can always tell when someone's asking me, but they're not saying what they really want to know. They're just kind of beating around it. So ask those questions genuinely, because we can tell when you're not.
Yes, that's very true. Very true.
Okay. So then, kind of in that same vein, you don't want your communication coming across to someone to convey that you see them as a problem to fix, or not them, but their singleness is a problem to fix, and you're going to take on this like crusade to get this person married. It's a part of a single person's life that they're single, but it's not necessarily a problem that needs to be fixed. It is okay. I mean, it's okay to be single and not want to be. It's okay to be dealing with that tension. But one thing to remember in this too is that when you're viewing it that way and you're coming at it from that angle, even if it's not conscious, it would be one thing if one person did that. But remember, you're not the only person in that single person's life. And if one person was like, ooh, I'm going to help you and we're going to fix this and da-da-da, that's fine. But y'all ever read that book as a kid that was like, this is what would happen if everybody did?
No.
It was like, I mean, it was a little kid book. And
Yeah.
it was like, this is what would happen if you left your shoes on the floor in the living room or whatever, and then you turn the page, it's like, this is what would happen if everybody did. And there's like shoes everywhere. It's like, this is what would happen if you didn't close the door. And this is what would happen if everybody did. Like that kind of thing. And
okay,
it's
gotcha.
kind of that same thing in my mind of like, okay, this is, I mean, it's fine if one person is trying to help you fix this and, oh, we've got this and I'm going to find you a husband, and you're kind of seen as this problem. There's this problem they want to fix. Most of the time that would be fine, but that's not the reality of what that person is dealing with most of the time. They're dealing with the side of it where it's like, this is what would happen if everybody did, you know, like everyone, and that will give someone a complex.
Yeah, that's such a good analogy. That's really good.
So,
well, and I think kind of in that, going along with that, something else to be careful about is don't feel like you've got to justify how great somebody is because they're not dating somebody.
Yeah.
Like they're a complete, whole, wonderful person, regardless of whether they have a boyfriend, a fiance, a husband, whatever.
Yeah. And that should be the like starting point,
Yeah.
you know, not that you're having to like explain it away.
Yeah.
Like it should be, well, we start at this place.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and this is the story that sparked the episode idea. So I was talking to a friend of mine a few weeks ago, and she had gone to this event, and it was her and her boyfriend, and then there was another couple that was engaged that went with them, and then another one of their friends who was single. And they're all kind of sitting there talking, and this girl and her boyfriend came up and started kind of just asking them, getting to know them. It was like a networking event or something.
Yeah.
And so the new girl looked at the engaged couple, was like, so are y'all, like, I see a ring. Or she's like, yeah, we're engaged. We're getting married, you know, whenever. And then she pointed at my friend and was like, hey, are y'all? And like, yeah, we're dating.
Right.
I think they said, we're just dating.
Okay.
And then the girl's like, oh, yeah, us too. And then the engaged girl motions to the single friend. She's like, oh, and she's just awesome. And like, my friend was like, Kristen, it was so cringy. Like, I didn't know what to do. Like, it was just like, ugh. And then the new girl's like, oh, yeah, like, I mean, it took me forever to meet him. And I'm like, what? And I'm asking my friend, I'm like, is this like, how old is this girl? She's like, I'm pretty sure she just got out of college. Like, it's not like they're super, you know.
She's just awesome.
She's just awesome. And so my friend was just recounting the whole thing. She's like, it was so rough. And I felt so bad for my single friend here. And she took it like a champ, apparently.
Well, and when you're the single person there, you know you're single.
Yeah.
And honestly, and stuff like that, I hope no one points it out.
Yeah.
Like, just pointing it out at all is sometimes the worst thing you can do. It's like,
Right.
I don't know. I'm like, I don't need you to defend me.
No. Well, as
like,
far as anybody knew, she could have had a boyfriend that just wasn't there.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not like you've got to make this.
She didn't. Like,
yeah. But it's just this sense of like, oh, she's not going to ask if you're with anybody because you're standing here by yourself with us. So I need to justify, like, how great you are, how to, like, no.
It's as if the idea is like, well, she's not dating anyone, but don't worry, she's still a normal person.
Yeah. She's so awesome. She's so great. Well, yeah, of course. Like, the fact that you feel the need to, I don't know, it was a rough thing to hear.
All around.
Yes. So keep that in mind. Like, you don't need to, I think, again, a lot of this is coming from assumptions, and a lot of this is coming from a place of you feel like you need to step in and be the defender or the hero for this person because, like, it's like just because they're single doesn't mean they're helpless.
Yeah.
They are more than capable of speaking for themselves, of putting themselves in situations to meet somebody if they want to, of using discernment on who they talk to about their dating life and who they don't. Like, they're full-grown adults. And all of this we're saying is trying to help the non-single people learn how to honor the single people, because it's really what it boils down to. How can you be a good friend to them, an encouragement to them, a listening ear to them, and just honor them by the way you speak to them, you speak about them, you treat them, whatever. So yeah, I called Bethany. I'm like, you've got to hear this. Like, we've got to, I don't know how we address this, but we've got to do something. We've got to do something.
Oh, man. Yeah, that one, I just felt bad for the single girl in the scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Well,
tough. And I think it was tough, too, because I'm like, I've been in that spot.
Oh, yeah.
I've been with my couple friends. And I'm like, okay, please don't ask me anything about this. Like, but that's great that they are. You don't need, one, it's a new person. I don't feel the need to like tell you, oh yeah, I'm just, let's move on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you don't need someone. It's like they're trying to defend you for something that's not a problem.
Yeah,
like, I don't need you like coming to my rescue.
Yeah,
when there's nothing to be rescued from. It's like they're trying to rescue you from being single, your single status. And it's like, well, no, it's fine. Like, you just deal with it. Like, it's just what it is. It doesn't need, I don't need my character is not lessened. My personality is not dampened because I'm single, and I don't need someone trying to say, oh, getting kind of all defensive. Like, oh, I know since she's single, you must be assuming there's something wrong with her. So don't worry. She's really awesome.
Yeah.
And this is another scenario where the
intentions were good.
100% sure there was no ill will in her saying that.
Yeah.
But it's just like, don't assume things and think before you try to help sometimes.
Exactly.
Okay. Another thing not to do here is don't try to make your single friends feel better by talking about how hard marriage is or how you wish you were still single. And oh my word, be glad you're single because I have to deal with this. Kristen and I were talking about something, and a friend of ours has a husband. Someone I know who's married, her husband's been sick. Like, nothing major. He's just kind of been sick. And I mentioned, that so-and-so is sick. And we were joking about something. Kristen was like, well, I wish I had a husband who was sick. Like, I wish I had a husband who had the flu or whatever, because it's like,
I know that sounds awful. It was a joke, I promise.
No. But making the point of, like, you can talk about, oh my word, marriage is so hard because my husband gets sick and he's the worst patient ever. And blah, 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 blah. So be glad you're single. When what we're saying is, well, I wish I had a husband who was an awful patient. Yeah. Like,
or my mind goes to I'm like, oh, I wish I had a husband to like take care of when he was sick.
Yeah.
Or like when I get sick, I have someone to take care of me.
Yeah. So
you see the good in the seasons that are yet to come, and you see the bad of the seasons you're in right now.
Yeah. And this one more than others, I know you're trying to help. You're trying to say, oh, it's okay. Like, don't worry. It's not all, sunshine and roses. We get it. We know it's hard. We know it's whatever. But it's not helpful to try to tell us, oh, hey, that thing you want is awful. Don't worry. You don't really want it.
Yeah. You're like, that doesn't feel great.
Yeah. Or basically saying, well, I wish I was single, so you shouldn't wish you were married.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Like,
that doesn't sound great at all. No.
So just don't.
Yes. And the last don't, we're just going to do a rapid fire here of questions not
sheet.
to ask. Okay. If you need to write these down or text these to somebody who needs to write them down. No, I'm kidding. Kind of. Here are questions to avoid. 1, when are you going to meet somebody? If I had an answer for that question.
Hold on. Let me get out my magic 8 ball. I brought it in my purse for this very occasion. I may start doing that.
Oh, you should.
Oh, wouldn't that be funny?
That would be really fun.
I don't know if I could pull it off.
I think you could.
I don't know if I could pull off funny more than like
snarky.
Really snarky.
Yeah.
Because you had to like obviously prepare.
Yeah.
You knew people were going to ask.
You know what? I think somebody put like God hacked my calendar this morning, and it looks like on January 12th.
That stays circled for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know why. It could just be like, I don't know, I'm gonna get a new car, maybe. Something's coming. No, don't ask when they're gonna meet somebody. Don't ask somebody, why are you still single? I know you mean it as a compliment, but talk about making it complex. You're like, oh, God.
I don't know.
Trust me, I've come up with a list of reasons why I think so. Do you have something that I may not have thought of?
And trust me, this is the one place where people just don't understand the psyche or the stuff that goes on in your brain when you're on dating apps, and guy after guy after guy after guy after guy that you talk to, there's some sort of like fatal flaw. Mm-hmm. There's some sort of reason where you get to a point and you're like, oh, if you don't get past X red flag, like,
yeah,
that you're not, this makes it really hard to find someone.
Yeah.
And so then you start going, but wait, I'm here. So this is something I ask myself. I've asked Kristen, I'm like, you would tell me, right? Like I'm asking you, what is that thing about me? And so then when you start saying, well, why are you still single? You're like, I don't know, but I'm really trying to figure it out. Could you help me? Like, someone tell me what this glaring blind spot I have is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. And I will say for girls too, people talk about, oh my word, you're so funny and you're so great. And I don't know why you haven't ever met anyone. That will really quickly go to, well, I must not be pretty enough for a lot of girls.
Yeah.
I mean, myself included, because you're going, okay, well, I'm so great apparently, but here I am still single. It must be the way I look.
Yeah. Oh, I went through that. I have quite a few journal entries where I'm like, I'm tired of adults telling me how great I am.
Yes. I don't want to date your mother.
No. I'm tired of my parents' friends or teachers or people that I know, parents of my players that I coach. Right. Like, you're so great.
You're going to make some guy so happy one day.
And so he's going to be so lucky. I hope so. Like... But I'm like, I really want a guy to think about me the way all you like. I love that there's this little fan club forming, but can you like instill your fandom into like a really cute, tall, Jesus loving, age appropriate guy, please? Thank you so much. So yes, no asking why you're still single. Don't ask. So are you putting yourself out there? Are you like doing? Yes, we're all busy.
Yes, that's the one. Are you putting yourself out there? Because that has been the thing to do way before online dating, way before anything. So I'm telling you, that is the one thing that someone's going to go, no, I never thought about that. Where have you been my whole life? How did I not know I need to be putting myself out there? Yes. Everybody knows it. Don't ask.
Yes.
Sorry, that was a snarky version of me again.
Nope. Y'all, these episodes, we have that side and we're not afraid to show it. Y'all love us still. Yes. You've still been coming back. So... And in that same vein, the last question not to ask is, have you thought about getting online? Of course.
Okay, never mind. That's another one that everyone's thought of. Yes, so there's two.
We've thought about getting online. We don't live in the Stone Age. Do you know how many times my mother would text me when she would see an eHarmony commercial and be like, Kristen, did you know every 8 minutes someone finds love on eHarmony? I'm like, do you know every time you text me this, I get annoyed? Like that. Yeah. I mean, we are infatuated. Not infatuated, infiltrated.
Yes.
Different word.
Very different.
We are infiltrated with ads and, things on social media and commercials and YouTube ads. Everything you see is like, oh, dating this, Hinge that, Bumble this, eHarmony this, Match.com, da-da-da. Constant. We've thought about it. You literally have to live off the grid to have not thought about dating online. So we've thought about it. If we're not doing it, there's probably a good reason.
It probably is.
So whether that's a temporary choice not to do it, whether that's a, hey, this is not for me, so please respect my decision thing, whatever. Again, how can you honor this person? How can you be a cheerleader for this person in whatever decisions they're trying to make? Because again, this is the last thing I'll say before I get too soapboxy. I think there is a pressure for single people to be very open and forthcoming with all of the details of their relational life that is not expected from married people, because no one goes up and asks for intimate details about your marriage.
Nope.
There's an unspoken line or unwritten, whatever it is, of just you respect the privacy of, hey, this is a very close, intimate relationship they have with their spouse. You're not going to go ask for all the details. Yeah, exactly. Again, their close friends are going to know, just like your close friends as you're single are going to know what's going on in your dating life. But for whatever reason, people feel the freedom to just ask whatever. And it's like, no, there's still a level of privacy we would like to keep. If you're close enough, we're going to tell you what is going on. And if you're not, you'll find out with everybody else when we post it on Facebook that we're official.
Yeah.
And that's it. But just respecting the boundaries and the privacy we're trying to set. And if you are single and listening to this, there is nothing wrong if you're getting asked questions you don't feel comfortable answering. If you're put in situations where you're having conversation, you're like, I don't really want to talk to this person about it. It is more than okay. You have full permission to say, hey, you know what? I'd rather not talk about that if that's okay. Or, hey,
we're not quite ready.
Yeah. Hey, that's, it's a little more detail than I want to get into right now, but, thanks for asking. And shut it down and no one's going to respect your boundaries more than you.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be really diligent in setting them. And if you do, you're going to create the kind of, culture, for lack of a better term, of what you're going to tolerate, what you're going to talk about, what you're willing to share, what you're not. And people will eventually learn. But just because you're single and someone asks you an uncomfortable question doesn't mean you have to answer it.
Yeah.
So if you needed a sign or like a little, shove nudge in the right direction. Shove. I'm much more violent. Bethany's like, oh, here's a little nudge. And I'm like shoving you off the cliff. But just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So any final thoughts?
I think we have thought enough.
Okay.
We have shared enough thoughts.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it there, guys. Thank y'all so much for joining us. We hope this episode was as fun and enjoyable for you as it was for us. Hope you enjoyed our advice and our snarkiness. Yeah, our rants, all the things. We will be back on Friday with a backstage pass, so a response to a question one of our male listeners has sent in, so stay tuned for that. But until then, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Bethany.
And this is Looking for the Middle.